All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a new week of crypto and Bitcoin analysis. It's December 14th, right around 8 a.m. Central Standard Time for me, wherever you are in the world. Welcome. So let's talk about Bitcoin, right? Once again, we generally take weekends off, but if you are an Advantage member, I did a Sunday video for you right here on the Advantage side. And then Friday, before I left off, I did y'all a long update of key levels to look out for. Okay, so hopefully some or all of these levels were pretty helpful for you. Now, of course, BTC being BTC, put in a phenomenal movement over the course of the weekend, and it took us back pretty much to around 19.3, 19.4, right around Saturday. And then Sunday, it obviously provided a bit of a retracement. One could make the argument that this looks like a bull flag right here. Okay. Now we hit key levels on the way up. Okay. Now the first key level was from last Sunday, which is the last weekly open. All right. That was 19,394. That was December 6th. Notice how Bitcoin went all the way up and tagged that level and then came down to the one level that we were looking at. If y'all remember this one right here. Okay. And I'm going to mark this out for y'all in a different color just for now so you can see it more clearly. See this yellow line? 18,985. Look at how much work that we've put in up and down this level right here. You know, chop, 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 becomes resistance, becomes support, 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 becomes resistance right there, becomes resistance right there, becomes support right there. So you can see across the board. I mean, this is a pretty important level, right? Bitcoin likes to come back to this level if it wants to, maybe do some more upside movement, or if it wants to start breaking down further, it'll utilize this level as resistance and then sell off. Okay, so where we are right now is we're above this key marker, obviously, right? And that's a positive sign. Now, we now have new SR levels, new weekly levels, new pivot levels to look out for. First one being we had this new pivot established. Okay, remember, pivots are nothing but support and resistance levels, these horizontal levels, based on the previous price action that's happened. And so it maps out a nice clean level for you. Okay, so that is currently around 18,740. Okay, and yesterday's weekly open, so Sunday for me, opened right here, right around 19,172. And that opened right around this candle right here. So we popped up, hit that key marker from 2017 we've been watching, right? Remember this marker right here. See this marker in purple that comes back from 2017, the weekly closings of the candles right here. So that's where that marker comes back from. Okay, so we rejected that, sold off. Again, tried to pop back up, sold off. This is the weekly open that we're kind of, moving up and down around, right? We're doing our best to try to stay above this level, but the bears are doing their best to try to force price under. So bulls are trying to push it up, bears are trying to force it down. And that kind of helps you understand that there's some battle, there's a fight going on in this area, and we don't really know who's going to win it out. Okay, now at present moment I am still long biased, but as you very well know, I've been telling y'all that my bias is slightly shifting towards neutral, maybe slightly bearish, but really nothing has been bearish about this for me in terms of my positions, right? It's not like I've taken a short position. It's not like I've sold all my spot or anything as such, because I'm not seeing the kind of movement from the bears in terms of follow through. So if I'm not seeing follow through, then what the hell are the bears really doing? All the bears might be really doing is, pushing price to key levels where bulls are once again stepping up to the plate and defending price and pushing it back higher. So my personal belief is generally in markets is that if the bears are not able to break key levels and establish momentum to the downside, then I honestly see that as, at least temporarily bullish behavior. because if you're not accomplishing anything worth noting in terms of support levels being broken, well, then you're not really doing anything at all. And even on this trend line basis, you could see this is a trend line that we've been watching, right? Over here, we had broken it briefly, but look how quickly bulls forced price back inside that trend line and drove it higher. A better illustration of this is also on the 12-hour chart, where we had drawn this, if y'all remember, on the linear scale. So let's turn off these indicators that we have. If y'all remember, price had actually broken below this area on a 12-hour basis, right? This is around the time where I left off Friday, okay? And then price reclaimed that marker and then boom, shot up higher. See, this is the kind of stuff that you want to see as a bull, where you know there are key support levels that are being broken, but then once they get broken to the downside by the bears, you want to see a quick reclaim of this by the bulls. And that's exactly what we saw. Now, obviously, this stuff happened Friday night or Saturday morning. And I don't really trade much on the weekends because I personally believe that that's me time and family time and things to do your personal goals or whatever you want to do, right? Your fun time rather. So anyway, I kind of ignored everything. And when I came back Sunday, I saw this price action, printing some decent movement, and I stepped into a long position. Now, unfortunately, that long position was small and it had a tight stop, so I got stopped out. But I once again jumped in one more time into another long position. And again, for advantage members, this is right here in the Bitcoin leverage long channel. Thinking that, okay, well, I'll give the bulls one more shot. Because once again, if you've noticed through this entire trend, one thing that I've done is given the bulls the benefit of the doubt because they've earned it. The bears have not. Okay. In fact, the bears have, been the most disappointing bunch because they haven't really been able to establish anything. No footing, no follow through, no basis of, kind of aggressively selling off price. So generally, I've been more inclined to take long positions. Now, in this area, when I took the long positions, they were smaller size because, again, there's something happening. I don't really know what. It just seems like whenever price comes to this area, there's a high volume that comes into this area, but nothing happens. Like there's no follow through. So generally, when you see high volume coming in at the top, that is not good because if you're not establishing a follow through to the upside at the top, high volume at the top means that there's buying activity and a surge of buying, like retail buying possibly, that's going up and pushing prices higher or trying to rather, but that's getting absorbed by the supply that's sitting in this area. So if the supply is absorbing all the high buying activity, who's really selling, right? There's got to be a big seller if there's huge volume coming into this area. That's one of the things that kind of scares me is, I don't really know what's happening. Sometimes the market is a little bit more clear where you realize walls are being chipped down, open interest is climbing up, CVD is climbing up. See, none of these things are that clear on Trading Light or other softwares that we kind of pay attention to. And when things are not clear like that, it's best to not just be so aggressively confident in the direction. Okay. So anyway, aside from that, right, I told you the cautious case about this is high volume coming into this area. Even on a weekly basis, like, you don't really have the best looking candles. This candle right here tried to close above R2, so did this one, but they all printed a little bit more uglier. Like this is a pretty bad hanging man right here, if y'all can see that. Now remember, hanging man candles, okay, they're generally like reversal candles. Not necessary that they have to be reversals, but they can be more often than not. Okay, so when you have a hanging man reversal candle like this right near key resistance, which is like 19.5, 20,000, that area, well, it's at least time to pay attention, um, Now, how does that hanging man get invalidated? So personally, I think generally you want price to just breach the previous high of the hanging man. So the high of this hanging man right here is 19,450. Okay, that is the first invalidation. Now, obviously, we have this wick high right here, which is around $19,958. If we breach past that, then I think 20,000 is probably going to come very soon. But the first level obviously is, this marker right here, 19,450. Okay, so probably keep an eye on that if you are looking, for a confirmation to the upside. Let me see. Now, the other thing, okay, so the other thing that I personally think is quite visible in this whole structure is a developing triangle. So let's check this out, right? So it kind of looks something like this, okay? So we got a nice looking triangle, ascending triangle, actually, something like that, okay? Let me pull this down a little bit more. Okay, so it's a nice ascending triangle and it's filled out a decent amount, to be honest, So when you have these kinds of ascending triangles, okay, constantly, hitting this area. So the other side of the logic is I told you all that there's high volume coming into this area, which means there's sellers who are selling right near the tops, okay? Now, do we know if the selling right here is weakening? Well, personally, I don't think it is, at least not yet, but it's getting there. So there's two schools of thought, okay? First one is in this top area, the top of the range, we see selling happening here, okay? Now that selling is absorbing all the high volume buying that goes into this area trying to force price up. But notice, price obviously is not going anywhere. However, price is also technically printing, higher lows, right? So it's like, okay, well, you had high volume buying, but did they force the price down further and further? No, not really. The sellers could not force the price down. So that should tell you in this instance that maybe the bulls are doing some work and some damage towards the trend of the bears, which is, maybe trying to force this price down. Okay, so in this particular instance, it's kind of an even spread between the bulls and the bears having positioning in the market to be able to potentially, drive the price up or down. So it's kind of 50-50. I don't really know, but what I do know is we're creating a nice ascending triangle right here, and that to me is a bullish look. Okay, so if it's a bullish look, then I feel pretty decent about it. Like, okay, all right, we're seeing a nice, triangle developing. We see price doing its best to climb over, specific levels, key levels like this weekly open or on the 15-minute. Let me see. Price, is above that pivot now, so that's not a bad sign. So it's these small things on smaller time frames that you want to see establish before price makes its way higher or makes its way lower. Okay. On the daily basis, okay, yesterday when I did my analysis, we were somewhere up here. And I told y'all, remember, the key levels to watch are this one, 18,725, 19,188, and 19,546. Okay, these are the markers that you want to watch on a daily basis. So we already crossed this one, which is 18,725. Now we need to get above 19,188 and hold on a daily basis. That will be a good sign. If we can get above 19,546, even better. Okay, so everything, folks, when you're in a ranging environment like this, when you don't really know exactly what's going on, maybe the clues are telling you that, who knows, maybe at the top there's selling happening and this could be a range of distribution. Or maybe the bulls are buying and putting in higher lows and they're ready to blast this price up higher. But when the clues are a little bit more even and you don't really know which way the price kind of leans towards, always defer back to the trend. First of all, the trend is obviously up. This is why generally I've been giving benefit of the doubt to the bulls, because I understand that price is building maybe a base right here maybe before pushing higher. Who knows, right? But usually when you come into key resistance and the price has made such significant highs, and you have not had a deep retracement on a weekly basis, like untested levels like 13.9 or 12.2, it should just at least make you cautious in that, well, okay, there's untested levels down here. It's possible that we might make our way down here, but that doesn't mean that we can't go up another 10, 15, 20%, then maybe make our way down, right? So the point is, always stay balanced and flexible, all right? Because remember, especially in reflexive markets like Bitcoin, due to its high beta nature, meaning high risk nature, um, the market conditions shift very fast, right? I've told y'all this many times, many months ago, that Bitcoin is generally the first asset that will probably get sold off when the market itself, say the stock market, the bond market, the currency market, or there's a de-risking happening, profit taking happening. This is probably the asset that they're going to let go first, because a lot of asset managers know that this is a less liquid market, and when selling happens, most other people start piling into that selling. And remember that these big portfolio managers, big funds and institutions that are in this asset, they know that there's a large subset of the population of crypto traders that utilize leverage a lot. So when you get the cascading down, right, institutions want to front run and get out before that cascading happens. And by the way, that works the same the other way around too. Okay, when the asset is going down hard, well, you might see some institutional buying activity start happening on the OTC side, right? OTC, remember, is off the exchanges. There's behind the curtain deals that are happening with large amounts of Bitcoin that don't really impact exchange prices. Those deals are happening. They might have hidden orders all the way down on exchanges as well. So Bitcoin, being a high beta asset, works both ways, where if and when price starts going down, it gets sold off very aggressively, and same thing on the way up, it gets bought up very aggressively. Okay. All right, let's go to the OBV and check out other metrics. Okay, so finally, we see OBV ticking up once more, but I told y'all multiple times, right? If you kind of pay attention to this area right here, where price, let me see if I can zoom into this a little bit more. Okay, so this high right here reflects that, and this OBV for that price reflects this line right here. Okay, so notice that price made itself all the way back pretty much towards this high, yet look at where OBV is. It's well below the previous high. See, this should tell you and indicate that the actual raw buying activity is a little bit lower here. It's a little bit lower, and that should tell you that maybe there's a potential divergence being created. Now that divergence, by the way, could go on for a little bit longer. Like, I think a perfect example is right around this area. You guys remember? Let me do this. Okay, let's go back here. Let's do this. Remember, this is from July to September before we broke down towards 9.9 or 10K, right? So let me show you that perfect example. Okay, so notice right over here. Okay, this was August 9th. That's the previous high right there. Okay, price and OBV are right there. Now look, price makes a higher high as per this thing, right? Okay, but OBV barely makes a higher high. If not, it may not have even made a higher high right here if you look according to this thing. Okay, so things like this should tell you that when OBV is putting in a lower high, or even as per this, right? We can go as per this one, right? Why not? This is where the OBV topped off, meaning the actual buying activity, the buying delta, meaning buys over sells, topped off right here. That is at a high price of 11,900. Price went, put in a higher high right here, all the way up to about $12,500. Yet OBV put in a lower high. And then guess what happened? We broke down, we broke down. See, these are the clues that you have to see in the market and pay attention to. Because remember, the clues, they don't just play out right away. Sometimes it takes like a few days, it might even take a few weeks, but the clues are there. And if you ignore the clues, well, then that's at your own peril because the market was already showing you, hey, I'm not seeing the same kind of buying activity. I'm seeing high volume being bought in this area, but price is not moving anywhere. Then, after the fact, when you do research, after things have happened, you realize, oh shit, why didn't I pay attention to these clues? And you don't want many moments like that because sometimes you might get lucky and you might say, okay, I didn't lose too much money. But sometimes those losses are pretty devastating. And you're going to kick yourself because you realize, like, holy crap, the OBV was showing this. So this is why, once again, the long positions that I've entered have been a little bit more smaller. And they've been smaller because I'm doing my best to try to give benefit of the doubt to the bulls and saying, you know what, maybe they're going to, start driving up prices from here because we made a good amount of progress up here. This also looks like a bull flag. We're also above the weekly pivot right here. So I'm giving the benefit of the doubt to the bulls, but it's not going to be enough for me to dive right into a full position. Okay. Because the bulls got a lot to prove right now if they want to start breaking out from here. And honestly, I'm okay with paying a higher price if we start seeing that breakout. But if I get stopped, I don't really want to give back too much money to the market. Okay. So that's kind of my thought process. And as you very well know, once again, I will reiterate my bias has not become bearish. It has simply gone from long to slightly neutral. If I'm bearish in any sense, it's only due to the fact that I'm trying to tell you guys to be a little bit more careful in this area where we are. Consolidation is great. That's fine. I pointed out this is a nice looking triangle. And for all I know, we could just break out from here. We might be at 20K today, tomorrow, the day after, who knows? All right. But don't forget to look at the clues. Now, the other clues in the market, funding rate is still pretty decent, right? Like, remember, funding rate is all about who's paying whom for the leverage positions. So, for example, positive funding rates, as it says right here, suggest that speculators are bullish and long traders are paying funding to short traders. Now, across the board, we pretty much have positive funding, but it's not that high. So it's not too bad. See, when you get aggressively high funding, that's an area of exploitation where, people could step on the other side of the market and possibly take advantage of that. So nothing in terms of funding that could be exploited, in my opinion. The other part of this, we often look at the fear and greed index. I don't know right now if I were to sort of provide the metric for this, I'd probably say it's somewhere like over here. It's a little bit between fear and greed, closer to, fear, I would say, because I don't know if there's that much greed in the market right off the bat, but there is a bias that's being held in the market that's a bit too aggressively long. Now, that doesn't really imply greed yet, but it does imply a bias that could be broken if prices do decide to, take a crap. Okay. Trading light software wise, still got some aggressive sellers up here, just stacked right around 19.8, 19.9. But, like I said earlier, let me hide this first. Like I said earlier, right, if this is a bull flag right here and we start breaking up and out of here, that's solid. Like, we might actually chew through this garbage right here in a span of hours. It's not going to take long for us to break through this. But again, we need to see that follow through. Okay. In terms of walls that are stacked up immediately right above us, we have a few. Like, for example, this one right here is sitting at 167 BTC, right here around 19,225. So, we kind of need some buyers to really step up and chew through some of this stuff. Okay. The other thing is I'm not seeing spot Bitcoin lead the way. This is another thing that I've been overly concerned about, you want spot buying to happen. Like spot BTCs where the market from back here, around like September, October, have been leading up the market. So when you see a vacuum in spot buying activity, for example, spot right now on Coinbase is at 19,120 and um, XBT is still at a 19,126. It's like at a slight premium. So that should tell you that, okay, well, it looks like, the real Bitcoin is not, Bitcoin buying is not happening. And it's possible that the derivatives traders are still trying to drive up the price. And that's not really a sign that you want, to happen if you're looking for more upside. Okay, but it's not terrible spread, by the way. All right. So anyway, so we do have, like I said, some sellers right here around 19 to 35 or so. So let's see what happens over the coming, rest of the daily candle. Altcoins still not really doing anything great, but it's doing okay. For example, ETH, right? I don't know what the heck ETH is doing, but it does not look like ETH has the same kind of proper, ascending triangle structure like BTC does. So this tells me that, who knows, maybe Bitcoin dominance is about to go on another run and BTC is about to push up, but then alts might just, not move up a whole lot. They might just chop around in this area. And then later in the month or next month, they might break out. Okay. Link, sort of the same thing, right? I told you all that, Link for the most part, it's created a series of, lower highs over here. Now you really need to see if, in my opinion, I think this level is probably going to get hit. That's right around 11.15. If that breaks, we're probably going to this marker right here, 9.75. On a weekly basis, Link may take us down all the way to about $5 or so. Again, this is all about weekly retests that have been, unfulfilled, right? So I'm not saying that Link has to go there, but just saying on a weekly basis, like this will be a good area if Link comes down for you to pay attention to. Okay. All right. Wi-Fi. I've spoken about levels already in Wi-Fi. We have a couple levels, 19.5, 19.2. This is the previous, SR level, like resistance, support right there, resistance right there. So if we come down, look towards that area for a potential bounce. Obviously, if that breaks, then 15.7 is the next area. Let's see if we can put down some pivots on Wi-Fi. See, this is a new weekly pivot and price is already breaking below that pivot right there. So maybe not the best sign yet. All right. I would really like to see, altcoins start creating a base or, BTC starting to move up and then alt starting to move down, like at least something to indicate that, there's someone stepping up in one side of the market or the other. For now, what it looks like to me is, if we're going off, say the slightly neutral to bearish biases, maybe BTC is coming into key areas of resistance and it's getting sold right here or shorted. And then at the same time, alts are bleeding further and further and they're, being sold or shorted. Okay. That's what the market kind of indicates to me. Now, obviously that can easily change if we start breaking above key resistance levels. But for now, if one were to just look at this at face value, that's kind of what I would see. Okay. Are there any questions, by the way? Anything else I can cover? The stock market is about to open in about 6 minutes. The ES had a nice gap up on the open last night, pushed up a decent amount. So we'll see. We'll see what the stock market has. I think the stimulus bill, I think is supposed to get passed this week, maybe next week. So we'll see, exactly what the politicians are trying to do in terms of supporting the market or not, right? All right. Any other questions? Let me see here. Potential targets for XRP short. Let's see. If I were in an XRP short, like so let's do this on a daily basis. I mean, at first, at least keep an eye on this target right here. That's around 0.43. Okay. Few different ways where you could short with a stop above, say this pivot right here. That's right around 0.60. If you want to stop that high, if you want slightly lower stop, maybe like right above this key high, so 0.53. Okay, so like above this high right here. Okay, that's another area you could potentially set your stop. But sometimes when I look at price pretty close to the pivot, like what price could do is they could hover back to the pivot, tag it, and then come back down. And so if you want to add to your short, it could be this pivot right here. That's right around 0.54. And your stop could be, maybe up here around like 0.60, like I said. And that's, the daily pivot anyway. Okay, way the heck up here. Okay, so yeah, first target to the downside would be 0.43, maybe even this one right here, 0.45. There's a pretty big support and resistance level, like even on a weekly basis that's this one right here, 0.34. Now I know people think, all right, that's not going to happen and this and that, but you'd be really surprised when things get sold off. Boy, they get sold off hard and fast. So, this would be another level that you could pay attention to, 0.34. On a 4-hour basis, the S1 also is right here around 0.45. Like I said earlier, right around, this previous low. Okay. And the S2 is right here around 0.40. Okay, so those would be a couple of targets you can pay attention to. All right. Okay, perfect. All right, folks, that's it. I'm going to wrap it up here. I will update y'all through the day. Okay, cheers.